So
Okay,
welcome
got it.
again, Betty, to Unit Masters. And this week we are in Unit Masters week 3. We've already gone through understanding what is decentralization, what is the Internet of Value, what are typical protocols, and what are different consensus mechanisms. And we are diving deeper into understanding one of the different ecosystems. Last week we had Avalanche Network here. Today we have Betty, co-founder of Acala and Karura. And this is one of the very exciting projects because it is built in the Polkadot ecosystem and open to, bridging different ecosystems around the world. Maybe Betty, if, for a start, you could just share a little bit about yourself. You've been a developer and then you entered the blockchain full time and you've built many different projects. Like what was so exciting about it and what is actually, why are you actually so engaged in this ecosystem and what are you envisioning to build?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me here, Yip. Um, yeah, I'm currently based in Auckland. I see people putting in from France and Dubai, so it's pretty awesome. It's late in the evening for me, so I'm sure everyone's at different time zones. But only about 3 years ago, before 3 years ago, I was still in a normal job, working as a product manager. But I've been in tech for all my career. I was a software engineer right out of university, and did development, and then also did consulting, but then moved into product. And then later I got my MBA, from Duke, and also Otago from New Zealand. That gave me quite a well-rounded skill set to complement some of the engineers that I work with like today, and that's also helped me to kind of like start my the startup that I'm currently working as a Acala. And then, like, I mean, personally, I think everyone will have their rabbit hole story how they got into crypto. I'm not much different. Like personally, 5 or 6 years ago, I well even earlier than that, I was told about Bitcoin, but at that time, because it was passed down to me from someone that I didn't have 100% trust. So I kind of like left it aside until about 5 or 6 years ago. I picked it up again. And then I read the white paper, which is, as an engineer, once you read that, and then once you actually played it, there's a non-stop, because the next thing is so I remember that first book that I read is Master Bitcoin. And then right after that, I was a master of Ethereum. And then I even went as far as programming my first blockchain myself, of course, using some very low tech like JavaScript, just so that I understand exactly what is going on. As an engineer, that's probably the curiosity that you will go. Yeah. And then I remember back in the days, I will finish my day job as quickly as possible, because I just couldn't help myself to actually learn as much as I can, because I suddenly realized this technology is going to change how we operate as humans, because we used to rely on many of the intermediaries for trust. And now, for the first time ever, we own something, right? With Bitcoin, we ultimately owned value and call it our own. Until that point, all the stuff is we think we own something, but it's not really. And of course, it isn't very obvious from start on. But once I got that concept, I realized this could potentially, like the internet sort of revolution. How many internet type of revolution that one can actually experience in your lifetime. If somehow I missed the last internet boom, I won't miss this next opportunity that create this decentralized internet for everybody, and also for all the applications built on top of it. So that is sort of the turning moment for me to try to figure out a way to go work in the crypto industry as a professional. But of course, back then, there's no need for a product manager. But somehow magically, I met the right people, and then also subsequently, actually through work, met my co-founders. So that's sort of my backstory of how I got into the field and why I'm so excited.
Wow, that's quite a cool story. Thanks for sharing so openly with us. I would love to ask you to maybe take a few minutes to share about, how did you make the decision to join the Polkadot ecosystem, and then maybe just share for those of us who don't really understand how to see the differences between the different ecosystems around there. Maybe you have an analogy to make it very understandable for for the
Yeah,
new
sure.
beginners here.
Yeah, sure. So I'm sure, as you said, folks already understand the basics of consensus and also, basic of blockchain. I'm assuming you know Bitcoin very well. But if I use an analogy, then, Bitcoin is basically just a ledger. Yeah, it's a shared ledger amongst all of us who use it, because no matter where you are at, as soon as you make a transaction and that transaction is recorded in a single ledger, that everybody knows what the truth is. That's basically Bitcoin. But it can't do anything else. It's almost like email. It serves one purpose, is sending and receiving value, just like email, just sending information. And then we have, I guess that's what I call blockchain 2.0, is where Ethereum comes in. And Ethereum is simply almost the same ledger as Bitcoin, plus a virtual machine. A virtual machine is basically just a computer, simply put. So it's just basically a Bitcoin hooks up to a computer. The power of computer is you can actually write software programs that does things automatically. And then, of course, has a beautiful name called smart contract. But ultimately, that's what it is. It's just a computer that you can write software program and then automate certain things along the way. And of course, because of that power, right, everyone has autonomy to create their own application. And then that's why, on Ethereum, there's a rise of, well, at least since last year or late 2019, the decentralized finance industry or world has been, booming through the Ethereum smart contract platform. So that's the 2.0 world. But once I get to a certain stage, like last year, because of the design and structure, it was not meant to probably take on as much load as it has been taken on. So the cost of actually deploying new smart contract and also for new people to come in and use the platform goes up this way, exponentially up for a new user. So it got to a point it's almost not usable because of that. And of course, then people start to think about what is the next thing. And this is remarkably similar to when we had internet, right? And then everyone's operating in their own network. And then they try to figure out ways how to get interconnected. So you have infinite sort of scalability. And this is where technologies like Polkadot, Cosmos, Ethereum 2.0, these are all like Internet of blockchain technologies that come out. So these are more like blockchain 3.0, I would say. And then the idea is just having many of these internet type of blockchain are able to connect together and then create a network so that applications built on top of it can just leverage all the goodies of all the different blockchains, but at the same time not constrained by the scale of a single blockchain. So it essentially becomes an internet of blockchains. And then out of these three, I'll give you one or two distinct features of each, so you know exactly, because we went through this process when we chose which platform to build on about 3 years ago. So we worked on the Polkadot's technology stack called Substrate about 3 years ago. So that's a long time ago. And then that was before the version 1.0. We are one of the first commercial external contributors to their repository back then. Literally, there's nobody other than Gavin Wood. So Dr. Gavin Wood, who's the founder of Ethereum, but also he wrote all the code on Ethereum himself. So basically his team was the main developer of the Substrate framework. So back then we realized a couple of things different from Polkadot, Cosmos, which is also an Internet of blockchain type of project. And also, today we talk about a lot Ethereum 2.0. So the differences is, we'll start with Ethereum 2.0. Ethereum is basically one computer, and then Ethereum 2.0 is basically a hub and spoke. So there will be a hub in the middle for proof of stake, and then there will be a spoke on the end that it connects through this middle point, right? It's like a spider, if you can think about it. Other than that, well, it is not on a white paper, it's still in development. All the nodes are exactly the same. So you basically copy and paste the current Ethereum and paste it a number of times. I think originally it's like 48 shards or 48 nodes. Right now it's maybe 24. I can't remember exactly, but there's a number of copies of Ethereum virtual machine. So basically you can, deploy Uniswap on one and then maybe some other protocols on the other one, but they're exactly the same machines. Things that you cannot do on one EVM, you can't do on the other. So that's what it is. So so that's the Ethereum 2.0, which is cool because it can scale. Okay. And then you ask a question, why do the machines have to be exactly the same? On the NFT platform, we sell artwork. We can't afford that high gas fees. We just want to transact using US dollars. Or I'm localized, I want to pay New Zealand dollar. Why do I have to conform to this economy called ETH? And I have to hold this like ETH that I don't know where it comes from when it comes to, paying an artwork. And then the economy of NFT is very different from finance, because finance, if you do a transaction of $100,000, you are happy to pay fees for $2,000. But for the artwork with a fixed price of $2,500, you would never want to pay a fee as high as $1,000. Doesn't matter what you do, because they are different industry, and then they are also different type of incentive and also different type of utility. And those two are still quite closely related. But what about Internet of Things, right? IoT. If you have mobile phone data, you want to sync to the blockchain, and if you are paying Ethereum gas price and conform to all the rules of the same economy, you're never going to be able to, create this real world application. So that is the struggle. And of course, then with that struggle, then Cosmos and Substrate come out. So Cosmos is basically also multiple nodes connected together, but each one of them are independent, and each one of them can be different. So you can use the Cosmos platform to build a specialized blockchain. So you can customize it. You can say my fees is pay in dollar, and another chain is fee pay in euro. So you can do things like that. And then they are also lightly connected. Lightly means they don't trust each other. So you will have to put up your own validator to make your network a real value network like Ethereum or Bitcoin to hold value. So that is the major difference between Cosmos and Ethereum. So Cosmos is like, they're all very different, and they're almost like independent blockchains. And then basically they have some technology to connect the two together, but you are still relying on trust, because if one network is $1 million as value, the other is $200,000 at value, would you want to accept the currency from that country? It's almost like that. What if they default, right? So they're loosely coupled, and then sort of Polkadot is more in between the two. So Polkadot has this architecture of hub and spoke. So same as Ethereum, it has a hub that provides all the security. So you don't have to rely on individual country to value to trust each other. You have a central place for consensus. Every transaction you send is validated right at the center using proof of stake. So highly secure. And at the same time, each spoke, like each node on top of it, they are different. They can be different. The reason for that is, because Gavin Wood can make the platform that way, and then it's able to create technology so advanced that you can actually have the shared security, but you don't have to share the structure of software development, right? So, and then this comes to a very specific example of Acala, which is very easily can explain what a specialized sort of blockchain looks like. So you can imagine as a hub and spoke. Hub is the Polkadot, right now is 20 billion in market cap, right? This basically is a implication of how secure your network is. And then Acala, when it hooks onto Polkadot, it shares that security. So we have that level of security on day one. And then we can customize our blockchain for decentralized finance use case. For example, the first thing I don't like about the current economy is I always have to hold this native token. So on Acala, the first thing that we create is bring your own gas. If you want to pay your fees in, I don't know, Ample token, Link token, USDC, DAI, you name it, as long as it's available and supported on the Acala network, you can use them to pay fees. It just automatically, converts it to the local currency and it just pays it. And then the user doesn't feel a thing. You can just transact transparently. And then on top of it, we created, we have a stable coin, and then there's also a DEX built on top of it. And then there's also liquid staking. So those are the sort of the three arms on top of Acala to power more liquidity on top of it. And then we can customize things like, I don't know if everyone is actually that well versed, because last year there is a Black Thursday happen. So this is almost like the Black Friday happened on financial market, where all of a sudden there's a collapse of price, and then they have subsequent event of a lot of loans being liquidated, and then everyone is rushing to find liquidity to kind of fill their loans. This happened on Ethereum. And then because of this event happened so suddenly, the network is super congested. Imagine everyone is trying to close the loan. And then the Oracle, basically most of the applications out there uses Oracle based as a price to tell you whether your position is safe or not. This is more financial related stuff. Because the network is very congested. So the price cannot be fed into the network very easily. And then the whole system is kind of come into a halt, people lose money and things like that. But at the same time, this is kind of constrained by the network itself. There's not so much the protocol can do. So one thing we've learned from that lesson on Acala is Oracle is critical. So we are able to put that at the chain level. If you are an Oracle transaction, you're feeding price that are essential to the application, you are a system transaction. No matter what happens out there, how many transactions come in on this block, you're always being prioritized. And then everything else will fall behind you. So we can guarantee, the price is sound for all the applications. So these are just a couple of examples that give you an idea of how blockchain can be customized differently than others. And then in the Polkadot ecosystem, there's also others who build metaverse that may have a completely different setup than what Acala is doing for finance. So sorry, that's a very long-winded way to explain what Polkadot is and also where the sort of the blockchain 3.0 is. Yeah,
it's super amazing. If you were to think of it as a human life, which stage of the evolution are we currently when we're looking at the blockchain technology?
Toddler.
Totally. Yeah.
The reason being, I think we are still developing this consciousness. We're developing an idea, self-aware, that where we are at, and then continue to learn and evolve. But it's still very early on in terms of grown full scale. But you can see that baby has full potential. Yeah.
What's the next step needed so that that baby can, go walk and even ride a bicycle? How long would you think would that take?
I think it takes a lot of people here. I am a builder, so I speak mostly from as a builder, entrepreneur, or engineer perspective. It takes a lot of effort to actually build products. I think if you come here, learn about blockchain, and this world is very wild, the blockchain world or crypto world in general. You see a whole bunch of people rushing mostly for financial gains. This is what happened in any new industry that has a upward sort of potential, or people have imagination of the upward potential. It happens to any new industry and revolution in the past in the human history. But also at the same time, after this rush, you will see this bubble and then it all burst, but it also goes into this golden area. I think there's a book on this one, but I can't remember what it's called, but it basically describes that this rush of capital and also resources, but then it bursts because it doesn't deliver. But then after that, it is the golden area. Golden area means what's left there are actually people who want to make things happen, who want to build new tools, new technologies, actually solve real world problems, and then actually deliver something that perceived as probably impossible, right? So, these are the things that happen for artificial intelligence. When I was at school, it was taught as a paper, but only 20 years later, I actually use it on, I think, Azure and some other cloud applications as a programmable bot and things like that. So it took that long, and then who knows how many people behind the scene actually make that happen. The same thing is going to happen for blockchain, but luckily we are at this early stage, right? Right now, if I go into AI, it's probably already too late. But for blockchain, it still needs a lot of builders. It needs people with skills and knowledge from different area, but also have a true understanding of what crypto is, how it can change the world, and then apply your own expertise and help all these companies grow or start your own project so that you can make impact and differences. This is how innovation happen. And also, we are in a very lucky world because of COVID. I think COVID actually disrupted many businesses, but for anything it does for crypto is it accelerated crypto development, because we started 2019 like late, and then it's next year's crypto, so we couldn't start at a better time. And then we thought everything will go down. We didn't care because we just want to build stuff. But what happened to us is we were kind of isolated in New Zealand, a very small country, very far away from everything that happened in the real crypto world, in the US, Europe, or even Asia. We couldn't travel. We thought, this is gonna, be not positive for the business, but actually not really. People stop judging where you come from. People stop judging where you are. People stop judging, whether you've flown to Silicon Valley or you met so and so in person. People stop judging any of those things. Environments like this, Zoom, you don't even know what these people wear, behind the scene, but you can have a conversation, and then you can genuinely show what is possible, and then you can make that impression, and then can keep things moving. Have people back you, support you, and also be able to share your technology around the world. So I think for anything that COVID is, it makes a lot of people struggle, like health-wise and also business-wise. But at the same time, I think we've learned a lot as a species together, how to work together, how to actually help others first and let others survive, so we can all survive type of things. I think, I don't know, I'm very positive in general. That's probably what I get out of it. So yeah, so to share that.
Yes, and it's thanks to people like you who generously shared their insights across the world, right? You are actually literally opposite side of the world to me right now, and we're having this conversation. Maybe you can share, Betty, a little bit about the fundraise that you've just closed, becoming like the first parachain in the Kusama network. That's like all super amazing, and you can share with us, because I think when people just read the news, they don't really understand how revolutionary, also in terms of governance, all these kinds of blockchain projects are. It's like next level, but then people just associate it with technology and so on, but it's way beyond that. What's your perspective?
Yeah, sure. So on the news, it says Karura, which is Acala's canary network, launched on Kusama and secured, I can't remember what's the funding at the time, maybe 100 million or 200 million for the launch. But even that title is a little bit misleading, because we didn't actually raise those money for ourselves. Those tokens are all locked for security of the network. And then, if we deliver, then it's happy days. If we don't, we can't touch it. So this is very novel concept called a crowd loan to launch a network on Polkadot. And this have to go back to history, why this is built, right? So this is like a birth child of Gavin Wood, why he wants to do this. So Gavin Wood, over a Ethereum founders gathering weekend, basically coded the EVM on site So I think he spent only 2 or 3 weeks for the Ethereum virtual machine that billions of dollars deployed on it. So he's the sole developer. I think there's one other developer that wrote it in a different language, but he was the one on the retreat that are able to spin up nodes of Ethereum, like, all the node stuff. He did that on his own computer and demonstrated to everybody who's partying that it's possible. Like, people are thinking about this, but he's the one who wrote it into the yellow paper and write the code and make it possible with all the stuff that we imagine today and also use today. And then back then, of course, once the Ethereum happened, the first application, or maybe the first prominent application on Ethereum, is ICO, initial coin offering. Basically a mechanism for fundraising, for crowd-sourced approach to put in, valuable tokens. I think at the time it's just ETH, and then swap out project tokens or whatever tokens that the ICO offers, with a hope or dream that this team who takes the fund will be delivered in the future. It has a very well-intended sort of a goal, is so that the crowd, we can do crowdsourcing, and then helped those mostly probably underdog projects to actually get some support so that they can build stuff and innovate, right? I think this is the whole intention at the time. But of course, the design of the ICO is basically just a contract. You just put token in and mint token out. It has no enforceable mechanism to keep anybody accountable. So that contract is simply just like put token in and then mint token out. That's simple. It has no way to keep anybody accountable. When people have like a tremendous amount of money within a very short period, usually like 5 minutes or 6 minutes, hundreds of millions of dollars, it's exciting. Money comes so easy. And then you can see how many projects actually delivered out of the ICO boom. Probably 99.99% of them no longer exist today, and a very handful few, still trying there, and some of them evolved and survived. But the percentage is like enormously like differences. So the intention is good, but the software technical mechanism is incomplete, and this is like I guess one of the big problems that Gavin wants to solve is how do we turn this model around? How do we be able to still sort of like gather support? Because one of the main reasons for ICO is not only just the tokens, because at that time Ethereum is not even worth much. It's more of like you have a way to gather the community, and then you can launch with a big community that is potentially your user, right? So how do we keep this good intention, but also keep people responsible? And that is the crowd-loan mechanism that's invented on Polkadot. So basically, you create a crowdsourced module. This is like a smart contract, and people will lock their token onto the smart contract with a goal to get a slot to plug into this hub and spoke. So each spoke is a slot. In order to get the slot, you will need to secure enough funding and then to bid for a slot. So as a project, we cannot touch the smart contract. So for us, it is not a fundraising event, but it is a token distribution event, because for all the people who support us, once we launch, we will distribute all the token to them. And then these supporters will immediately become our users and token holders. And this is exactly what happened on Karura launch, because I think on the day that we launched the crowd loan, more than 200,000 KSM has been locked, and over time there's like 500,000 KSM locked on it, and there's over 20,000 individual accounts unique participated in this event, right? So they locked their KSM, so we know they're very committed. Because we don't get the funding, we are also giving out our own tokens to all of these people. So if we don't deliver, right, if we don't create value, we lose most as project, because we're giving out free token, and then we're not getting actual funding. We're only getting an opportunity to deliver value. So we worked so hard from the launch, which is about a month ago, and then the transfer, like the actual launch is like 10 days ago to today. So since 10 days ago, we've launched 2 products. already. So we've launched a stablecoin, which already minted like 4 million KUSD stablecoin. We've launched a decentralized exchange with 2 pools in it, which trading at about 170 million in the last 7 days. And then we've locked value for over, I think, like 32 million already. These are all grassroots. Why are we able to do this? Because all of these people who participated in the crowd loan, we didn't take their money, but we took their attention. So they all come to our platform to try the product out, and they like it, and then they stayed. Isn't this what a real builder wants? So this is what happened on Polkadot. And then it also weeds out many of the scammers, because the scammers couldn't even figure out what crowd loan is, regardless of doing, like, taking this long process of getting a product launch, wouldn't be able to actually get there. So yeah, so this is a whole flip of paradigm, how you actually launch a network, and then also how you keep everyone in the ecosystem accountable to launch a network. So yeah, so that's our story.
Yes, congratulations. It's been really, really fascinating. I've been following the different news also from the different exchanges. And how is it, Betty, to work in a decentralized project? How can one imagine everyday life?
Chaos. Yeah, so a lot of chaos. Yeah, so the code is open source. So it's almost like whatever you do is everybody is watching. I think our engineers have a very high standard when they push code, because it's all in the open. So you try to be, as high standard as possible. So that's one thing. I think it's like doing things in the public. It's very interesting play. I think it's another way to keep us accountable as well. I think, and then the second thing is the community is huge. You can see how much people want to get involved in a decentralized world, and everyone try to find their own way to contribute, I guess. Because now we are in the stage where if you really know what crypto is working, and then maybe you have skills in finance, have skills as economists, skills as developing, doesn't have to be blockchain engineer, just like front-end applications, or data analysis, you can do reports, and then this, or you are a lawyer even, right? But if you understand crypto, there's so many things you can actually contribute, and many times you don't need to ask permission, and then you can just like write an issue, post it in the forum, and then raise a discussion. So we've gone through I think 6 or 7 different governance proposal. We're still like at a training wheel in terms of the governance process. The team is like making decisions publicly, making our decisions known beforehand, and then people will vote through this process to actually make it pass or fail. At the same time, the community is also quite new, so we're all learning this process of publicly discuss issues, and then making changes to the network collectively, and then at some point, all of the things, once we all learn the process and how we think and make decision, we can let go of this more managed process, and the protocol will be truly decentralized. So at this point, I think last week we had a proposal that we just left it for community to vote, and then someone obviously experimented the more advanced voting system that provided by Polkadot, and we customized, and then you are able to like vote with conviction. If you're really committed, you can lock your token, and your vote worth like 6 times more, 10 times more. So even you have a small amount, you can still outvote everybody else, right? So interesting things can happen when you just like let it go. So yeah, so that's how we can get involved.
Yeah, it's just so fascinating, because when you look at the blockchain world, everything around governance is so much more advanced than what we are seeing currently in the political systems. And question regarding the difference between staking in the sense of consensus mechanism staking and liquidity mining, because these words are sometimes used so interchangeably, but on technological level and also in contribution level, they mean different things. Maybe you could share with us, if a person holds some assets, why should they put it into staking or lock it into a liquidity pool? And what's the different outcomes of doing so?
I have a very simple way to put it. One is it's useful staking. One is kind of like useless staking. But both of them could make you a lot of tokens, but one is like really does nothing, and the other is actually providing some utility either to the blockchain or to the protocol. So the two categories, one is the useful one. So useful, you have to think, when you stake, what are you doing? Are you just locking your token there and then have a perception that your token is locked? So you have a lesser supply and then create a false sense of it's doing something and then generating some more tokens. But behind the generating more tokens, there's nothing there. This is like useless, right? However, a big contrast of that is if you put your token, for example, on Polkadot or Cosmos or Ethereum 2.0 or some other staking protocols, what are you doing? You're providing stake to secure the network. And then how does staking work is like, proof of stake is usually like, proof of work, you always have to have something at stake, right? This is how the game theory works. If you have nothing at stake, then you can just like do wrong things and nobody can catch you. Then of course the network will break down, right? Then you have to rely on legal recourse and you have someone police to catch the bad guys. The whole point of using Bitcoin or even blockchain is fascinating is because they have this automatic way to even assume you are the bad guy. You can still not do the bad thing because the economic consequence of doing the bad thing is way beyond what you can afford. This is true for proof of work and proof of stake. This is the more lower level, like first principle, why even this mechanism exists, right? And proof of work is just the first evolution of how in the programmable way we develop this what's at stake. So on a proof of work, you probably can think what's at stake, your electricity, or more directly is the money you pay for electricity is at stake. Because if you do something wrong, what you pay for electricity, you can't get it back because you don't get reward, you get penalized, right? So this is how it holds all the so-called miners, but they're just validators, responsible, right? Assuming all of them are bad. So, when it gets to proof of stake, it basically removes the electricity part, but you still have to hold something at stake. And this is using a token, the network token. In the Polkadot environment, it's the dot token that is holding the value. So that's why I said Polkadot is at a 20 billion market cap. In order to kind of manipulate the network, you need to own at least 2/3 of the tokens. So that's about 12 billion. I'm not sure if I'm doing it right, but like large amount of tokens in order to do something wrong, right? And when you do something wrong, you also have to think about now you broke the consensus, then whatever you've broke is gonna go down value because that's why it's valuable, is it's very secure, right? So you have to like have a way that you can break that security, and also very fast you can actually liquidate, like exit that entire network very quickly without anybody notice, to actually kind of consolidate the game that you played. So this is basically just the evolution from using electricity to using these tokens. Maybe there's something else, I don't know. That's why for the Polkadot ecosystem, the infrastructure is upgradable. Even the consensus is upgradable. It's gone through upgrade already. And if there's new development, new research come out on other networks, you have to fork. Or maybe you don't fork, you just fight on Twitter, and then for 3 years, and then still can't change a thing. Or like some other protocol, you fork, right? Because there's two divided, maybe validators or miners, you fork. And then that's still not good. But on Polkadot, because all of these things already happened before Gavin created Polkadot, it already happened on Ethereum and some other blockchain. So he designed it in a way that if this happens, we can go through governance, like on chain, we can all vote, indicate how we support. And then if that vote passes, like we want to make a change to the consensus, it happened on the blockchain, right? There's no such thing as we meet in London and then we agree in a closed room And then after a week, we changed my mind. I don't want to write that code. So we break all the, improvement proposals that we make. There's no this, offline, very fussy, very hard to execute thing. So it basically has a decision-making apparatus and also execution, which is very important apparatus on the blockchain itself. It can actually self-upgrade. So it is almost like a baby, right? The whole human engineering is amazing, is because we actually learn. We learn every day and then we grow. And then you don't see me forking, right? You see me just like evolve into a better version. So that's basically what Polkadot is. So
just a clarification question from Anchor from the community. Would staking on Binance be considered now useless staking or useful staking? How would one differentiate?
Yeah, you can't judge Binance, right? Just because it is a centralized exchange, you can't say it's just all bad, right? Just like you can't say a person from this country, you just like good or bad, right? You can't just judge because of, that nature. Because I'm sure, people who's in crypto, exchanges are probably the first few folks who developed this useful application for us to use. So I have no judgment on Binance or Binance smart contract chain. So you have to actually look at the specific protocol. If you put your token in there, is it providing security? Is it trying to maintain liquidity? So, on Karura, we also have liquidity. We didn't turn on mining on day one because we want to see if the protocol actually, the intrinsic incentive works. So we have a dApps. So if you provide liquidity, you earn fees. So that's a very basic economic balances there. So we turn it on just with that basics, and then it worked. If it's got liquidity, it's got, I think, 6 or 7 mil just in a few days, and then things are trading, and then people are earning fees, right? And then we add on top of it, because all of these things takes time to grow to a certain size, right? And then once it grow to a certain size, then traders will have better price, and then from the other side, liquidity providers earn more fees. So this is not a whether the product works question. This is how fast we can get to a critical mass problem. Then this is a point we think if you use some incentive, then we can get there quicker, and it can be sustainable. So we put in some incentive there. So if you lock in your liquidity to help trading, then you can earn way higher APY than just be a normal LP, liquidity provider there. So this only just gets us really quick to our goal. And then you can judge is this just get there quicker, like get to the critical mass quicker, but you're just helping with liquidity or some other sort of utility there. Or it is purely just like, please lock your token here and here's your reward. And especially the reward are minted, right? So basically I'm just printing some arbitrary tokens and reward you for, I guess, locking your token there you have to keep asking, like, what is it for? What is it for? If the question mark doesn't get answered in the end, then yeah, you have to ask yourself, can you get out quicker than the other person, right? So hopefully that helps. Yeah.
Yes, profit is not profit in this world. It's so amazing that you encourage us to look behind the curtains and understand the mechanisms. That's what Unit Masters is for, to teach basically basic understanding of how to differentiate noise from signal. And we have a question here from Vikas asking about proof of authority. People argue that POA is better than proof of stake. What's your thoughts, Betty?
This is basically a choice. Is POW better? Is POS better? Or POA better? I think this is a choice of where do you put your trust on. Some even argue PayPal is also good, right? It's pretty smooth, but you just put your trust on the PayPal company. If that's acceptable to you, then that's good, right? So proof of authority, you are basically putting your trust on the authority. Then you ask the next question, who are the authority? So I'm very much generalized here. So proof of authority is basically a network, and then all the players, and they are authorities. Maybe they are known brands, right? So they are maybe I don't know, Nike or some other brands, or maybe supply chain. They are known players. So they have much at stake. Maybe they don't want to lose their reputation. So it's safe to put your trust onto them, right? So if you feel comfortable with the setup, then that's okay. That's doable because so blockchain has many flavors. It's not black and white. There are many blockchains that are private, as long as it solves their problem, right? It's private. It's only private to 5 organizations that they couldn't work out their ledger, like share their information previously. Now at least they can trust each other through this private network. So be it. Then it's good for this use case. And then there's also semi-private or more enterprise blockchain that are more use proof of authority, right? In a supply chain, your supermarket, suppliers, all on the same blockchain, right? They all keep each other accountable. And as customers, maybe that scan QR code at the end, I'm trusting all the people on the chain. They are kind of like making sure each other is accountable. I'm trusting that supermarket brand that I believe in by scanning that QR code managed by that blockchain. So so I don't think there's a right and wrong. So in fact, for the substrate platform that we build on top of, which is technology, right, behind Polkadot and etc., you can make it anything you want. And so you can make it proof of authority. You can make it proof of work. Even if someone actually implemented a proof of work, like Bitcoin, like blockchain using substrate, and then proof of stake or anything you like, using this flexible framework. So yeah.
Yes, there's no right or wrong. Basically, we just always need to look into what is it used for. That's a very beautiful nudge for our community. Fast forwarding, this is also the last question, Betty. Fast forwarding 30 years, 2050, and you look back, what do you think will be one of the major happy moments for the crypto ecosystem and maybe for yourself too?
That's too hard. Even you ask me what's going to happen in 2 months, I may not be able to answer, let alone 20 years. But I'm hoping that 20 years later. Well, if I look back 20 years ago, so it's 1990s, right? There was golden age for internet, web development, and those folks, right? So if I were them, and then if I look back now, then I've changed the world, right? Dramatically, in a positive way. So I really hope that 20 years later, when we all look back, then we've done something to contribute to everybody on the planet in a big way or small way, it doesn't matter. But as long as it's a positive way to make each other's life better, then I guess that would be good. Yeah.
Well, you were a beacon of light today for us, and Chana spreading encouragement and hope and technical understanding. So thanks very much. I'm sure many of us looking back 20 years in the future, looking back, will think, yes, Betty gave me some insights and that shaped some of my future behaviors and my career choices. Thanks so much for this. So at the session, we're closing. For now, on Thursday, we have Christopher May speaking about asset security and custody and how that evolved. So come again on Thursday, everyone. And tomorrow we have a do your own research workshop with Zeb from Kyber Capital. And we also have now little networking connections in small breakout rooms, and we'll manage them for us. And thank you very much, Betty, for being here with us
no
today.
problem. I've kind of done some self-promotion there. I posted jobs at Acala. If anyone who's interested, do take a look. Yeah.
Yes, we also had some community members who wanted to run communities in Vietnam and Africa and so on and so forth. Maybe they can also check the website to see what's a good way to contribute to building your network. All right, everyone.